Your son's team just missed it. I know it, because some 4 and 5 teams made it. Okay, looking at the information items, we have Brian, and boy, Brian, you guys probably did a lot of things, spent a few bucks, but made some investments, but I don't think you had any big report for us, do you? Other than what's right there that we could read.
Minutes are in there. Got the next consent decree project going out for bid here pretty soon, so that's all ahead of schedule. So other than what's out there, I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Looking at the minutes from Brian's meeting, does anybody have any questions for him? Being no questions, thank you, Brian. Thank you. Mark Little is next for us, and Mark's going to bring us up to date on our work and so forth, with our, especially our master plan and so forth. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Several updates that even update what's in your packet. I was out last week, so your updates in here are about a week and a half old. So I have lots of new updates from just returning today. The IT space and the public defender office space. The public defender is in the process of moving into their space right now. There's a few of those folks that have moved in there. The only thing left to really do down there is some touch-up painting for them. And then the IT space is supposed to be completed by the week's end, and we'll put the final pieces of furniture in there on November 1 and get moved in there, so that space will be completed. The next two at the jail, the CUVs, those are installed and are supposed to be fired up tomorrow and testing tomorrow. The new boiler has been installed and has been fired up and is going through fine tuning right now. The jail roof replacement, that is in process right now. They've vacked that roof all off, and they're in the process of putting that new road on, the new roof on. Ring Road, that is going to be rebid this winter for the spring. The first phase of the brick tuck pointing is wrapping up. We're down to the end of that, so we'll have the next phase of that next year. The boiler replacement at the JDC, that's on order and is to be completed by the end of the year. The JDC sprinkler head replacement, that is out for bid. Those are due October 30th. I did hear a report we had 2 more sprinklers broken last week out there, so that continues to go on until we get those replaced. The JDC roof replacement, they've started the vac process out there, vacuuming off the existing roof material out there. Courthouse roof replacement, they are on day 2 of vacuuming this side. They will be finishing up and shifting over in another day or so over to the other side and beginning that vacuuming process over there. The Hamilton steps are poured. They were poured today, and they were taking forms off out there this afternoon, so they still have to go up and do some pouring up along the sidewalk area and the handle stuff, but they poured those steps today. And the boardroom and 402 AV system upgrade, we're going to mark that as completed. That was checked off last week from a functionality standpoint. And then the courthouse, the probation carpet and paint, they have picked out their carpet, what they want, are working on scheduling, getting that installed. So a lot of things going on.
Any questions for Mark? Mark, I just walked by those steps over there on Hamilton, and I could tell that they were freshly done. I didn't know whether they had done late last night or today.
Just this morning. And
you said they did them this morning.
Yes.
Now, we will have railings for pedestrians.
Yes.
Because, of course, they're not in right now. And,
right.
And that's why I didn't know when you might be putting those in, because I knew it would be pretty much finished. Okay, we are set to put those railings in.
Correct.
And sometime if you get a chance, look over the railings out here in front, because I've always kind of complained to different county administrators that the ones out here in front, which is really not the front entrance anymore, because Jefferson is are really our front entrance. But people walk up and down those steps at different times of the year, and I wondered if you might examine and evaluate whether or not we need those steps. Or pardon me, we need those railings there. So if you get a chance, just take a look at it and
Okay.
see what you feel about railings here on the Jefferson or the Main Street side
Okay.
of the building. No other questions? Okay, Mark, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, we're set to go into our resolutions. We have 6 resolutions today, and need a motion on this first one for the Maxwell Road. Motion by Sharon, seconded by Betty.
All right, this is the bridge that's right across the road from the jail. It goes over the old C and NW Railroad corridor. It's a 314-foot long bridge. This is our longest bridge in our system. We are proposing to replace the bridge deck on it, replace the steel beams, and do some repair to the abutments and piers where needed, and replace the slope wall. The job's estimated at close to $4 million. We have a combination of federal funds that adds up to $2,485,000 in federal funds. Our local match for this project will be $1,515,000. So this resolution appropriates or enters in the agreement with IDOT to use the federal funds and then appropriates that money from the county bridge fund.
Questions? Jeff, it said it's going to start in '24.
Yes, sir. It's goes to letting, I think, November 11th, I believe. It's the second Friday in November. It goes to letting.
Okay, that's a pretty well-traveled area. How long do you think that bridge is going to be shut down?
It'll be closed for the whole entire construction season next year. So I would foresee it being open about this time next year.
About this time next year. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for
Yeah.
Betty?
I have a question. Maybe this might be something Scott might address as well. In regards to the local public agency, as far as where those funds are being appropriated from, I understand from the bridge fund, but I see that both accounts, is it 2 different accounts or is it one account that they're being appropriated from?
I'll let Jeff answer that question.
Just one account. That new number, that's the new line item system, is that 500-705-21-650-310. That's the new line item system.
Okay, I see.
It's different than the 034 to 034 number. So
I see.
just
Okay.
due to the new Munis system.
Okay.
And that $1.5 million comes out of our motor fuel tax.
No, county bridge fund.
County bridge, I'm sorry, county bridge fund. You're right.
Thank you.
Anytime I think about roads, I always think motor fuel tax. Okay, we need to vote on that, do we? All right, all those in favor of adoption of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to our next resolution, Jeff. Not yet because we got to make the motion. We had to do with a speed limit adjustment, and motion by Danny, seconded by Betty.
We received some complaints about speeding or the speed of vehicles on Voorhees Road, which goes between US 150 outside of Kickapoo to Grange Hall Road. It's about 1.8 miles long. The road is split. Part of it is Kickapoo Township, part of it is Radnor Township. We did the speed study. It was previously unposted, which means it is unposted 55 miles per hour. The road in the Radnor Township portion is a lot of gravel. So we did the speed study. Our speed study kind of showed that we should lower it to 40, but the ordinance does not allow it to be lowered more than 10 miles an hour the first time. So we're recommending lowering it to 45 miles an hour. And if we still see issues in the future, then we can go back and do another speed study and lower it again in the future. So.
Betty?
Yes. Is there a time frame when you can go back and request it to be lowered even more so after?
I would have to look that up. I kind of looked at it. There was no guidelines on that. I'd probably wait a couple of years and
Okay.
see what it does. Let traffic stabilize and
Sure.
go from there. I would
Yeah.
say within 2 years, I'd be comfortable doing it again if we had to.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr.
Couch.
Chairman, I will be abstaining on this since it affects part of our township that I'm a road commissioner.
Thank you. All those in favor of the adoption of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to our next resolution, we need a motion on this for the sidewalks. And Betty, seconded by Sharon.
The city and the county both were receiving a lot of requests for sidewalks on Willow Knolls Road between Allen Road and University Street. So the city applied for some federal funds and received money to put the sidewalks in. We had entered into an intergovernmental agreement with them at the time, and they had forecast our amount would be about $55,000. So we had appropriated that amount several years ago. The job's done now. All the final bills have been in, and it ends up our final cost is $56,129.75. So we just need to do an additional appropriation for the extra $1,129.75, so we can pay the invoice from the county motor fuel tax fund.
Couldn't get it on. So basically, all we're gonna have to pay is $1,130, we'll say.
Well, no, we'll pay $56,000 will
Yeah,
be our total. Yes.
yeah, but-
We just need an extra $1,100 so we
Yeah,
can pay the
extra
entire.
$1,100. Okay. Any questions? Jim?
Probably not, but I want to ask anyway. So, I don't think we have many sidewalks in our inventory, do we?
Not a lot. We have a lot on Airport Road. It's probably our most. Dirksen Parkway now. Some in little towns like Brimfield and Triboli. But we don't have a lot of sidewalks.
So I guess my question would be, I know that would be, I mean, it's not going to happen anytime soon since we had redid it, but we didn't get it up to city standards for them to accept ownership. But being that they wanted sidewalks, would we not have like an IDOT policy where if you have to put in sidewalks, the city agreed to maintain them going forward? Because I know IDOT won't stick in sidewalks unless the municipality agrees to take ownership and maintain them. Because that was the question on Farmington Road. I'm just wondering why, I'm not opposed to sidewalks out there, but if that's a road we wanted to eventually get out of the inventory, or if the city wanted the sidewalks, and it's probably too late on this one, but why we wouldn't take the IDOT stance and say, okay, if you want sidewalks, then you take them because they're brought up to standards, and then you maintain them after that, because, I mean, sidewalks can become a liability for us too. So I'm just curious, if we built the sidewalks up to standards, why we wouldn't try to transfer the sidewalks to the city as their responsibility going forward, since those were built to standards. Because eventually, if we redo that road, we'll probably have to redo the sidewalks again for the transfer. Is that something we can do, or is that ship sailed, or?
That's something we could look into.
Amy, we're having trouble hearing you up here.
So at this time, I have to talk to the city, our counterparts of the city, and see if we can work on something like that. We have not in the past, but that's not a bad idea.
I'm just wondering, because I never even knew about that until I know Farmington Road conversation. The city with West Peoria would like sidewalks there, but IDOT will pay for them initially, but then the city has to take ownership and responsibility after the initial.
They had originally asked us to take over the sidewalks on Farmington Road near Suburban Gas and all that years ago.
I'm just curious if it's a possibility and we want to get that out of our inventory at some point, why we want to ask the city to take ownership of the sidewalks as they're brought up to standards now.
Sure.
One less thing to worry about later.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor of the adoption of this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to our next one. It's again a speed limit study and so forth. Need a motion to bring this to the floor. Motion by Betty, second by Matt.
Again, we received some complaints about speed on Mossville Road. We went out to a speed study. The existing road currently is posted at 45 miles per hour from Route 40 to Pawnee Road, which is about right in the middle of the road. And then from Pawnee to Illinois 29, it is at 40 miles per hour. We did our speed study and we decided to make the road, entire length of the road, 40 miles per hour to be consistent through there.
Anybody have a question for Mr. Gillis on this? Terry?
This section of Mossville Road, entirety of Mossville Road, I assume, is heavy residential, a lot of driveways, and at the bottom of the hill, there's I guess what I would say, a reasonable blind spot coming down the hill, and it curves at the same time. I'd have to guess there's 3 driveways within 100 yards of the bottom of that hill. Did you consider going any slower than 40? Because it seems like a dangerous stretch. I understand the complaints.
We did, but the speed study is based off of what the people are actually driving. We actually go out and set guys in a couple different spots, and we run radar for a certain time frame, and we see what everybody's driving. And then there's calculations involved with how many driveways there are, in the density of the driveways, and how fast everybody's driving. And if we would have lowered it to 35 miles an hour, 60% of the cars would have been speeding, I believe was the number. Which, by the ordinance or the policy to establish speed limits, you can't lower it anymore to have a violation rate of 50%. So that means 50% of people be speeding if you lowered it. If we posted it at 35 miles per hour, almost 60% of the people would have been speeding. So that's against the policy for establishing the speed limit. So I understand that's a lot of the complaints were actually up towards Route 40, which was kind of a surprise to us not being out there all the time that was the highest speed limit. Was 45 up in that area. But this gets us 40, gets the entire road the same speed limit. Hopefully gets people slowed down a little bit, thicker residential areas. But we just couldn't lower it anymore by the policy because then, like I said, 60% of the people will be speeding in. So a lot of it goes down to enforcement.
I appreciate that your methods are much more scientific than my gut feel. So you've answered my question. Thank you.
Yes, that's a lot of things we have to explain to a lot of people, and they say everybody's driving too fast. Well, but everybody is driving this speed. So, yep.
All those in favor of the adoption of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. I'm going to make a comment just on this particular road. This is a road that many of you do not know because you haven't been on the board that long, but the county board agreed to, of course, adopt this road. That means we are in charge of keeping that from litter and so forth. And the last time I think we were out there doing anything on it, the person who lives in that particular district and represents that district, Brian L. Sesser, could not come because he was busy I think, in spring farming and planning and so forth. But I believe that Jim was on the board. Were you on the board, Sharon? You weren't on the board yet. So Jim and I are the only ones off this board, off this committee, that went out and helped clean it up. We had guys like Beato. I think Tommy O'Neill might have been the chairman at that time. Was Tommy O'Neill the chairman? And so look for next spring. You may be asked to spend a Saturday morning trying to go out there and get down a few of the ditches and so forth and clean out some of the litter. That'll be my goal, to set a date for you to help the county out and keep us beautified. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next one. We have Amy's going to be on this one, so we need a motion on our motor fuel maintenance material. So she's going to tell you how much we're going to spend, okay? Need to spend. Okay, you need a motion on that. Motion by Terry, second by Betty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the new folks on the board, we annually ask for an appropriation out of the motor fuel tax fund. So this would be for 2024, and this was in the budget. This is for our material costs. So we, once we get an appropriation, we go out and get quotations for rock and signs, culverts, those type of things, the materials we use. And we do not exceed the $3 million mark. But we only buy what is necessary. We don't buy, sometimes we might go and use the entire $3 million. Sometimes we use less. It just depends on our needs in the department. So this is an annual thing that we ask for. It also includes our costs for paying the city of Peoria through intergovernmental agreement for the striping on the county roads that they help us out with. So happy to try to answer any questions.
Questions for Amy? Being no questions, coin for the question on the resolution. All those in favor of adoption of it signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. And we move into our last resolution, which is a pretty sufficient one. It has to do with our jail, which we are trying to solve some problems and so forth. And we need a motion to adopt this resolution, or get this resolution on the floor. Sharon? Second by Mr. Kelch.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Throughout the course of this year, the administration and the sheriff's office has become acutely aware of the priority that capital improvements in facilities has become by the county board. Throughout the course of this year, we've invested a significant amount of funds in the jail itself and in the budget you approved a week and a half ago. There are even more capital improvements planned for the jail in FY24. All that aside, there is no master strategy for how we need to make improvements to the jail. Today, we're kind of using a very reactive type of approach, and in the long run, that's going to probably end up costing us more money, and will continue to hamper the sheriff's ability to attract and retain talent for the corrections side of his operation. Additionally, there continues to be detainee-initiated litigation that alleges deficient conditions at the jail. So when you add up all of those factors, we thought it was appropriate, in speaking with the board chairman, that we solicit statements of qualifications and a proposal to prepare a jail master plan, or a master plan for the jail. We put together a scope of work that has four major components to it. The first being an audit and analysis of all the building systems. Second, looking specifically at the kitchen operation. Third, looking at our housing unit design. For those of you that are unaware of the jail, the portion that was built in the 80s in terms of how you detain prisoners was state-of-the-art. Today, it's actually very labor-intensive, and it is not consistent with how you would detain prisoners today. And then fourth, identifying other operating efficiencies that may be available. So we put that scope of work out on the street in the form of an RFQ. The sheriff and Mark and I collated a list of architectural firms that we wanted to make sure received an invitation to respond. That list was pretty exhaustive. We ended up having 2 responses. Each response that we received was from a national firm. One of them actually is a global firm. But in both instances, they partnered with a local architectural firm as well. Mark, the sheriff, and I then used the evaluation criteria that were in the RFQ document and, independent of each other, evaluated the 2 responses we received, ranked them, and then came together to compare our notes. All of us came to the same conclusion, independent of each other, and we recommend to the board that this contract be awarded to the firm of CGL Management Group of Chicago. They are a national leader in corrections architecture, and in some cases they actually do contracted maintenance of either state prisons or county jails. CGL has partnered with Dewberry and Associates, who is, while headquartered in Fairfax, Virginia, is a local architectural firm, and their corrections practice is actually centered here in their Peoria office. I can think of no other team that has more knowledge in terms of corrections than those 2 firms, based on the research that we did before the start of this process. Our recommendation is to award that contract to CGL and at a cost of not to exceed $275,000. We will use the appropriation that is in the current 23 budget from the compensation study that was originally planned and the County Operations Committee chose not to pursue earlier this year as the source of funds. That appropriation was $300,000, so there is sufficient funds available to award this contract. I would say a key driver also beyond their qualifications was their schedule. They have proposed a pretty aggressive schedule that our team, that being the sheriff, Mark, and I, believe will be able to hold up our end of the bargain, and they, based on reference checks, have the ability to deliver as well. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Scott, the other day in our meeting, and I may have misheard you or something, but I thought you said the laundry was also going to be. The other day when we met, I thought you'd said that not only were they going to look at the kitchen, but they would include the laundry.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, yes, that's correct. So as part of looking at the kitchen, laundry will be included in that. For those of you not familiar with the jail, the kitchen and the laundry are immediately adjacent to each other in the current jail. Both have significant issues that need to be resolved. It's not just a function of replacing equipment like Mark talked about earlier in the facilities capital improvement update, where we've got 2 new units coming online this week. It's much more than that in terms of how we prepare food for both the jail and the juvenile detention center. and how laundry is done. So everything is going to be up for evaluation. Everything will be on the table in terms of how we might deliver a solution going forward.
Also, when they go into this study and so forth, we're hoping that they will extend the life of our jail for about 25 years, aren't we?
That would be the starting point. If we could get it extended beyond that, the better, because jails are not an inexpensive construction proposition.
Okay, anybody else with questions? Yes, Jim?
I just want to comment and thank the sheriff, Scott, and Mark for putting this together. I know $275,000 is a lot of money, but I think it'll be money well spent. And without a roadmap to know what we need to do there, we're just going to be spinning our wheels. Because, as everybody knows in our facilities, there's no way a voter referendum would approve a new jail or anything at this point. So we need to make good of what we have and do it with the best. But this will give us a roadmap so we can truly assess what we need. And usually for the person that always argues local, 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 we have some of the best construction companies around, some of the best architects and engineers around. But I also felt it was important that we have an outside from Peoria come in as the lead on this that would give us an unbiased viewpoint on the jail, not only the facility, but operationally, what needs to be changed, and somebody that doesn't necessarily care if they ruffle the feathers with necessarily what their opinions are on the jail. So I think it's important. I think this will be money very well spent for us to go forward. And as we talk about not kicking the can, this should give, not to keep using the word roadmap, but future boards the directive of here's what we need to spend up front. That's a waste of money here. Do this. And we've made some improvements into the sheriff's credit. I mean, he's got more pods, I think over 10 pods back operational here just out of his budget here recently. So he's been reinvesting in it, money that we didn't budget for it, that he's using from money from his budget. But I'm excited, and this probably can't happen soon enough, so I'm happy to see at least it happens in June to give us some sort of direction forward.
Thank you. Anybody else? All those in favor of the adoption of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Our next thing on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anybody here for public comment? Being none, then we'll go to miscellaneous. Yes.
I just want to make a comment about, they always say every day is a gift and not to take it for granted. But today, a member of Labor's Local 165 lost his life on a construction accident in Chillicothe, right in front of Kroger. There was an accident. Somebody went speeding through that as fire trucks were present, ambulances taking care of the wreck, trying to do a good deed and help clean up the road of glass and debris, was killed on the accident. And, just remind this is infrastructure. We have men and women at the highway department every single day that's what they do on the side of the roads. And we always talk about construction awareness, but you can still, every time we drive, you see people flying through, looking on their phone, texting. But here was a gentleman today. He had plans to go, was only going to work a little bit in the morning because he had something else to do today, was trying to help out and not going home tonight. So I know we sometimes take for granted what the day, but every day, Amy and Jeff's team's out there on the road, risking their lives too. We have the month every month for awareness, but I don't think it's something you can talk about enough is put down your phone and just pay attention and drive through slow when you see orange barrels. In today's incident, you had fire truck lights going, cop car lights going, and somebody still went flying through the zone. So it's unfortunate, and somebody's not going to see their family tonight because of it.
Thank you. Anyone else? This meeting is adjourned.